All right. I'm sure that you've, at one time or another, most all of us, have made a connecting flight in some big city and big airport, and you sit there in the terminal, and you see all these people running, rushing down the concourse, going to their gates to connect with their flights, and maybe you have done this. You sit back and you just look at all these people and you say, "Who are they? Who are all these people? Where are they going?" It's just one of those things that I've kind of reflected on every once in a while, and pardon me. And it's an amazing thing to think about all these people. And when you look at what's going on today, we have 8.1 billion plus people in this world. Over 8.1 billion people in this world today. And it's fair to say that the vast majority, nearly all, with respect to the scale here, are pure strangers to us. We don't know them. We don't know where they're going. We don't know their lives story. We don't know these folks. They're strangers. And then from all of that, we have a circle, you might say, a group of people that we're aware of. We don't know them, we haven't met them, but we're aware of people. All the celebrities, Bishop Barron, I know who he is. I haven't met him, but I know who he is. Hundreds, thousands maybe, of people that we're aware of or that we know. Acquaintances would be the next tighter circle, if you will. Those are the people that we've met, perhaps, and we know a little bit about them. We might remember their name if we're good and at doing that. And they are the folks that we're somewhat familiar with. And then yet we tighten the circle up a little more and we get to a group we call our friends. These are the people that we enjoy, that we communicate with, that we do things together perhaps, the people that we pretty much trust and share things together. And when you look at it, there's even a tighter circle, and that would be our closest friends, our close friends. And those are the inner circle, the comfortable ones, that we can be ourselves. We can let our hair down if we have any, and we can be honest with them and confident with them. They know who we are, they know our strengths, they know our weaknesses, they know, and as Father Brian might say, they are our old friends, as Ben Rector likes to sing. They're the ones that really we know. And we all have them, I believe. I have a very best friend that I met when I was in high school, when I was dragged to Jackson by my family. And we were in the rock and roll band together, and I still communicate on a fairly regular basis. I can't fool him. I can't do anything except be transparent. And we laugh, and we know each other. The closest of friends. And so we turn today, and we look at this gospel. Jesus has his 12, his friends. He's gathered them together, and he's speaking his heart. He's emptying his life to them before his imminent crucifixion. And he's saying, I call you my friends. You are my friends. Now, that must have been an A-bomb dropped, because they knew they were servants of God. And we can go back through the Old Testament, and we can see that the prophet Isaiah identified Abraham as a friend of God. And in Exodus it said that Moses spoke to God face to face as a friend. Moses was a friend of God. But for them to be called into the Lord of Lords' presence and be called his friends was a remarkable bombshell in a way. And then he proceeds to give them an idea with three fundamental core principles of true and lasting friendship. He said, "As the Father loves me, so I also love you." The kind of love that's willing the good of the other, that no one has greater love than this agape love, this selfless love, to lay down one's life for one's friends. And then he says, "You are my friends if you do what I command you." This is not the barking of a drill sergeant. This is the loving Son of God who is reaching to his closest friends and saying, "You need to have a union of will with me. As I do the Father's will, so I draw you into my will, and I give you a commandment for your good, for your welfare, to bring you to life in the fullness. You are my friends if you do what I command you to do." And his commandments are not burdensome. And finally, he tells them that "I have called you friends because I have told you everything I have heard from my Father." Friendship is open, transparent, it's honest. And Jesus did not withhold a thing. He gave us everything that he came to do and bring to us. Now, we were made for friendship with God. How does that settle with you? You were made for friendship with God. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I think about that, it's a little unnerving. It's like, wow. But we think if we're going to hold back, it's just as silly as Adam and Eve hiding. It's like they're hiding from God in the garden after disobeying the Lord. And it's like my little granddaughter Hannah, sitting in the living room. She covers her eyes playing hide and go seek, thinking that we can't see her. Isn't that the mind of a child? Yeah. Well, Adam and Eve, of course, they in their guilt, in their fear, in their shame, they had severed that relationship, that friendship with God. And they tried to compensate on their own, with their own efforts, by making fig leaves to cover their shame and the lost innocence that they had. But God says, no, that's not sufficient. And he put skins, he gave them skins. Skins come from animals. Animals were slain, there was blood. This is a type, a prototype, if you will, of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, who can only take our guilt and shame and fear and bring us to himself. The Catechism states, "God created man in his image and established him in friendship. A spiritual creature, man can live this friendship only in free submission to God. The prohibition against eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil spells this out. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall die." And die they did. Not physically at that point, but they had forfeited their friendship with God, and they were spiritually alienated and dead. And from that point, that little infraction that we think, they ate fruit from a forbidden tree. How serious can that be? How serious could a little microscopic virus from Wuhan be in the world? The book of Genesis traces the digression and the lawlessness and the corruption of our race. From the fall to the Tower of Babel, to our history, which is a millennia, it's millennia of wars, conflicts, strife, disease, despair. And it all began with this one infraction. Pretty astounding, isn't it? The friendship with God was lost, but the good news is that Jesus has restored our ability to be God's friends. He has brought us back into communion with God through his blood sacrifice on the cross. And he extends that love and friendship to us every Mass on that altar. In Eucharistic prayer number 4, it reads, even when he disobeyed you and lost your friendship, you did not abandon him to the power of death, but helped all men to seek and find you. In the benevolent, loving patience of God through salvation history, he worked to form a people that would follow him, that would come after his ways. And they eventually, from that people came our Messiah. He came to give us new life, hope. And as sin was such a small infraction, seemingly so, it's just as so on the other side, the positive side, where Jesus said, and faith, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed. I gave those out one Sunday after the mustard seed homily, and they're little tiny little seeds. With that, you can move mountains. Little things have profound ramifications. Now, there's a problem, though, because we're not equal to God. How can we be a friend of God? Aristotle reasoned that deepest friendships are those between equals. It's required for us to be equal. Well, God solved that problem, and he left his estate, the second person of the Blessed Trinity, left his estate, his rightful divinity, privileges, rights of divinity. He emptied himself as a servant and became human. That in itself is humble, humble, humble. And beyond that, he gave his life on the cross, the most ignoble and torturous, brutal deaths of all. Many of us today are looking for fulfillment, friendship, and love. But many in our world today are seeking it apart from the friendship with God. We must begin with friendship with God. The truth is that human flourishing and the fulfillment of all desire necessarily begins with and finds its satisfaction and completion in divine friendship. He has even elevated our friendship to adopted sons and daughters. We come to his table. The host brings us before him. And never mind the corruption of the world. It's still corrupt, and it is getting, well, you can read the news. St. Paul said, the creation waits. It's groaning in travail and with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God, the friends of God. Creation itself will be set free from its bondage and to decay and obtain the glorious liberty of the children of God. Our friendship of God is contagious and is efficacious in liberating this world from its fallen state and pointing to the ultimate end of our life, which is in heaven with God forever. We are made for friendship with God.